There's a thrift store on the corner of Maryland and Decatur. It's not a very big place, basically just a storefront with a big window and about 1,000 square feet of shop space to play around with. They don't stock the latest brands. They mostly sell whatever they get from donations. But the mannequin in the window never fails to catch my eye. I've been taking that route to work since I got hired 5 years ago. Every day I walk past that thrift store, and every day I look up to see what that mannequin is wearing. It's always different, and I think the owner dresses him in something new before the store opens every day. Sometimes it's seasonal. He'll dress the mannequin up in a Santa Claus suit or a witch costume. But sometimes it's more weather-related. I've seen the mannequin in rain slickers and welly boots during rainy months, or in sundresses and sandals when it's warm out. The mannequin is nothing special. It's just a regular department store mannequin, but he seems to have enough legs and arms to put it in different positions to match what it's wearing. It's become my little ritual every day, and I enjoy it. So today, when I walked past the window and noticed what the mannequin was wearing, it stopped me in my tracks. The mannequin was dressed in a white button-up shirt with slacks and a pair of wingtips. He had a jacket over his arm, a blue windbreaker, and a briefcase in his hand. He appeared to be checking his wristwatch for the time, and as I saw him, it led me to look at my own watch as if mimicking him. The mannequin was wearing exactly what I was wearing. I work as an accountant, and my dress is usually pretty standard for the office setting. To see it on a mannequin, this particular one not even having a face, made me stop and take a long look at it. I laughed. It was a little absurd. I suppose maybe the owner had an excess of business wear that he needed to get rid of. Maybe he was hoping to move a few pairs of suit pants and some wingtips, and made a mental note to stop by on my way home to see if I could pick up a few new items for my wardrobe. The windbreaker was an odd touch. I'd never seen one exactly like that one, but it's probably a coincidence, just like the rest. I didn't actually stop by that day, but as I had to walk to work the next day, I found myself looking at the mannequin to see what it had on. I was surprised to find it was nearly the same as it had been the day before. White button-down shirt, suit pants, briefcase, and a windbreaker over its arm. The one change was the shoes. It wasn't wearing wingtips today, and neither was I. I decided on a more comfortable pair of sneakers today. The mannequin was wearing the same New Balance shoes that I was, and that made me look at it a little harder. Couldn't imagine how the owner was matching the mannequin to me every day, but it was a neat little surprise. I went to work with a smile on my face, again thinking that I might stop in to see if he had any business wear before I went home. I didn't make it that day either, but I did stop in the next day. The next day was Saturday, and I had decided to go for a walk with my dog, Rusty. I was not in my usual business attire. I was wearing the windbreaker that I usually carried, and I had a pair of jeans on and some running shoes, a t-shirt for a band that I'd liked since high school. It wasn't a very popular band, something obscure that I was pretty sure me and maybe 5 or 6 people had heard of, but it was a shirt that I had meticulously kept clean and taken care of. My eyes went to the mannequin in the window, and as it came into sight, I stopped in my tracks. The mannequin was standing there in the exact same clothes that I was, and it even appeared to be walking a stuffed dog on a purple leash, which was the same kind that I was walking my dog on. I couldn't process what I was seeing for a moment. This couldn't be real. How had he found a copy of not just my dog, though this one was stuffed, but also the super obscure band t-shirt that I was wearing? The longer I looked at him, the more sure I was that his face was a little bit different, too. There seemed to be dimensions there that were different from the flat, obscure planes that had been there before. This took me a little aback, and I finally decided to go into the store and ask the owner about it. The owner was an old man named Mr. Tully. He was a guy who could have been anywhere from 40 to 60, and he always had these thick glasses that reminded me of Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys. He looked at me as I came in, smiling as he asked me what he could help me with. Rusty was standing beside me, making this low, keening noise, as if he could sense that I was agitated, and when I pointed to the mannequin in the window, both my dog and the owner seemed confused. I want to know why that mannequin is wearing the same clothes that I am. Mr. Tully scratched his head and looked at the dummy that he had clearly dressed before setting out for the day. "Oh, one of my assistants must have done it. Truth be told, I haven't dressed that dummy in close to a year. I usually have one of the boys in the back put some clothes on it before the start of day. He does look like you. That is weird. Do you want to buy any of the clothes on him? Maybe get a few more pieces for your wardrobe?" I didn't know what to say. I ended up telling him I was sorry that I had made a fuss and just leaving. It was so odd that I really wasn't sure what to make of it. It's not every day that you walk in to find a mannequin wearing exactly what you're wearing, and I guess it caught me by surprise. The idea that he looked exactly like me, however, was one that wouldn't go away quite so quickly. I thought about it a lot as I went about my day, and that night I even dreamed about it. In my dream, I was standing there and watching the mannequin from the street. The longer I watched him, the more his features began to change in my mind. Around me, it looked like days were passing, and the sun moved like it was in fast motion. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, but the longer I looked at the mannequin, the more I realized that my own features were melting away. It took a minute. I was fully focused on the mannequin's face, but when I caught a glimpse of myself in the window glass, I could see that I was the one with the smooth face, and he was suddenly the one wearing my expression. I woke up tangled in my covers, and no amount of assuring myself that it hadn't been real would make me believe it. Every day, as I went to and from work, I would look into the window of that thrift store and see if the mannequin had changed. Every day, he'd be wearing the exact same thing I was wearing, and it definitely gave me pause every time. I wanted to go ask Mr. Tully again about the strange nature of the display, but I just never worked up the courage. The dreams began to change a little too. Sometimes I would have the sidewalk dream, but sometimes I would almost feel that I had woken up and found him in my room. It was like being under the spell of a paralysis demon, and all I could do was lie there as the mannequin stood in the shadowy corners of my room and watched me sleep. He was never there in the morning, but the dreams were still very unsettling, regardless of which ones I had. The longer I took notice of him, the more I realized he was beginning to get a face to go along with my clothes. He was slowly growing a nose, eyes, a mouth that drooped slightly like mine did when I was injured or angry. With every outfit he wore, he would come to resemble me more and more, and I found that the transition was not one-sided. I too had begun to feel less than myself. I felt weak, like I might be getting sick, and I began to get lethargic. I started taking off work, started sitting in my apartment and not doing anything. Rusty would come up and nudge me with his head, but I couldn't bring myself to do much more than mundane tasks. Feed the dog, wash myself, feed myself, then sit on the couch and try to remember what my life had been like before I saw that mannequin. Then a few days ago, as I was working on my second week of sick leave, Rusty came up and nudged my hand, and I looked down at him for the first time in a while. I've been feeding him, been cleaning up his messes, but the way he looked at me told me that he was beginning to see life the way I did. And that hurt me somehow. Just because I was losing my mind didn't mean that Rusty needed to suffer too. On a whim, I grabbed his leash and decided to take him for a walk. Maybe some fresh air would do me good. Maybe just getting out of the house would free me from whatever funk I'd found myself in. Our walk took me down familiar streets. Rusty was so happy that he was practically skipping. It was the first time he had really been out in a while, and you could tell that he didn't want it to end. He was absolutely enchanted by everything around him, and the more we walked, the better I felt, too. It was like I was a groundhog coming out of my den after a long winter, and the feeling made me happy. Rusty's mood was infectious, and I found myself beginning to skip the longer we went. People must have noticed because they were staring at us as we went about our walk, and I saw more than a few turn to mark us as we went by. It was great, the best walk I'd ever been on, the best walk in a long time. But it ended far too soon. It ended when we walked past that damn thrift store, my route taking me somewhere I hadn't noticed I was going. As we came to the window, I looked up without thinking, and that was when I saw it. He was just standing there. And I could see that he had a face and everything. The mannequin had transformed into me, completely and absolutely. He wasn't just wearing familiar clothes or familiar objects. He now looked exactly the way I did, down to the ripped pajama pants and the vintage superhero t-shirt that had been my pajamas since I was a teenager. He was looking out of the window at me, and as he caught my eye, I could swear he smiled. I stood there looking at him for what felt like an eternity, and Rusty had begun to whine and look between me and the mannequin. He seemed confused, not used to seeing a perfect mimic of his owner, but as the mannequin sat forward and put his hands against the glass, I began to run back to my apartment. I noticed that people weren't staring like I'd thought they were. They were gawking at me as Rusty and I made our frantic way home. Some of them laughed, others looked at me with open disapproval, and I wondered what exactly they were seeing that made them feel like that. People knew me in this neighborhood. I had lived here for a long time. Long enough for people to remember who I was, at least, and as I closed the door to my apartment, I caught sight of myself in the mirror that hung over the key rack. My face was gone. Nothing but a flat mannequin face that had been staring out of the window at me for so many weeks now. I put my hands up to prove to myself that I wasn't just seeing things, but there was no denying that my features had completely gone. No matter how much I touched or where I put my hands, I couldn't find any features on my face. Not a nose or ears or anything. It's as if my face had just been wiped clean like a chalkboard. Can't begin to imagine how this could be or how it happened. I've been sitting on my couch since I got home, and I've made a grisly discovery. I can still see, though I have no eyes to see with. I can still breathe, though I have no mouth to breathe through. I worry that soon I'll begin to scream, though I have no mouth to scream. It's funny. That phrase never made any sense to me when I read that story in college, but now it seems to have come home in a big way. I don't know if the story is a warning or just the passing of information, but all I can say is that if a mannequin looks like you, don't count it as nothing. He may take more from you than just your fashion sense. Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, then please feel free to click on one of the videos we have up here. Maybe look at one of the playlists if you're trying to get caught up. I know, there's so many videos on the channel. There's so many series that are going at the same time. Sometimes you just need a little refresher course, and I gotta say, I always enjoy the views. If you're not subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell so you don't miss anything. We upload a lot on this channel, so you won't want to miss a single story as they come out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click on the Amazon link down there. There's quite a few books in my Amazon account. You can have a look, and if you'd like a signed copy, get up with me through email, and I'll be happy to work something out with you. Also, there's links to my Patreon, and you can become a member on the channel if you'd like your spooky a little bit early. Patrons and members on the $5 tier get their videos 12 hours early. That's in the morning as opposed to in the evening. Patrons at the $10 level also get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one. Speaking of my patrons, you should see them appearing right now. Just wanted to take a minute to say how much I appreciate all of you. Patrons, subscribers, however you give to the channel. I really appreciate everything you do, and it truly touches me that you have chosen to support the channel in this way. Well, that's enough for now. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.